Hey guys, I'm Harshit, founder and composer at Distant Echoes, and I would gladly like to welcome you all to the YouTube page of Distant Echoes. So, in here, we're going to talk about music production, audio engineering, music composition for films, background scores, and we'll be doing all sorts of, deconstructions of the project that we have done in the past. And we'll be aiming to share information and collaborate with you guys. Basically, we're just trying to build a community of musicians, music composers, and people like you and us who like to talk and nerd about music, audio engineering, and music composition. So, in today's video, we'll be talking about one of the pieces that I have composed for Distant Echoes. It's a self titled track, The Distant Echoes, which is kind of like the theme slash anthem for the venture. And it's quite an interesting piece because it's built on a concept I like to call as one motive with different arrangement. Okay, so let's dive into the piece now. This song is basically built on 5 different tools, which is the main motive, which is this. Second is the chords, which is these are the chords. And the third is the rhythm, which is not really complicated. It's syncopated. It's like straight 4/4, 8th notes and 16th note on the snare, and with some added percussions to uplift the lower register of the EQ spectrum of the song. Um, then there are contrapuntal melodies. So many places in the song where there's a melody going on behind the leitmotif, and that's been either taken over by another instrument, or some other instrument takes on the contrapuntal melody. Now, what contrapuntal is? It's basically the question answer kind of thing where when there's a melody playing, there's another melody which is playing along with the main melody, but kind of like giving support to the main melody. It's kind of like so this is what contrapuntal sound like. And the last is doubling another section of the orchestra or the arrangement is doing. So before moving any further, let me just actually give you a tour of this template. So what my template looks like is how the orchestra's parts are written down on sheet music. So there's the woodwind section with flutes, alto flutes, oboe, clarinet, bass clarinets, bassoons, contrabassoons, and some on woodwind ensembles, which are here. So it's basically first woodwind, then the horn section, or sorry, the brass section, which has the French horns, trumpets, trombones, tuba, and then again some ensembles. Then the percussion section, followed by piano, and eventually, last but not the least, we got the string section, which is violin 1, violin 2, viola, cello, and double basses. Right after the strings, I've also got some voices. Now let's get back to the composition. This is what's starting off with just one single note, which is for which I used my APC Mini to map the dynamics. And to add rhythm, add some rhythm to the piece, there's the woodwinds, which are of like a dotted 8 notes. One and two and one and two. It's just adding some rhythm to it, and the bassoon is taking on. Now the main melody is being transferred to the woodwind section, to the bassoons. And eventually gets to the horns. So what's happening essentially here is the string starts off the piece where it starts off with one note, slowly crescending into the melody for the strings, which is accompanied by the woodwind, which are adding rhythm to the track in at quavers, and then the melody is being transferred to the bassoons, where the strings take on the role of the harmony, and then as it's about to reach the climax, the melody is being transferred to the horn sections, because it's really aggressive. It's bold and grand, and makes a statement that okay, it's kind of coming to an end and something climatic is going to happen. So that's what's happening here. Falls down and introduces another section. Now this is the main part of the song, where we've got the main melody, which I just played, being sung by a female vocalist. And it's kind of like it's now this vocal is being playing is what it's essentially doing, is playing the same chords, but it's just adding that 2 and 3 and 4, and it's adding that quaver rhythm to the track. So basically, even though there's one single melody, there are so many melodies which are kind of jumping around the orchestra, jumping around all the instruments that are present in the track. I'm stuck in traffic, and it kind of makes me think about an analogy for Distant Echoes track. That track basically has a single melody, and all the variation and the flavor has been added by so many sub melodies and harmonies played by the rest of the instrument in the orchestra. So it's kind of like when you're on a long journey and you're in your car, everything inside the car stays the same, where you don't have a lot of variation inside the car, so it's pretty monotonous. It's the same thing, and those things. That there's a steering, that there's an accelerator, but the moment you look outside your window, and the moment you look outside your window, there's all your variation. Then you see the things that you're not aware of. Then you see the things that are not in your control. So it kind of gives you a good sense of balance between the stuff that you know and trust, and the kind of like adventures of life. It's the same way in the Distant Echoes song. The theme, the melody, the motive is something that you feel comforted in. You know what's coming there. and the rest of the orchestra gives you a sense of variation in terms of like you'll hear stuff that you didn't anticipate, and that's quite a nice thought about the track, and it's just something that I to think about. So let's move back to the shed. So in the case of this piece of music, the train is the main motive, and the chords, and the scenery, everything outside your window is the entire orchestra, is like those reappearing and disappearing melodies, those contrapuntals, and those harmonies, all those things, those effects are, like all the beautiful stuff which keeps changing outside your window, whereas your main fundamentals are the same. So, so that's it for now. We'll deconstruct the rest of the piece in another video, so keep an eye for that. And, until then, take care and see you again.